Hello, my name is Matthew Dye, and I am your host for Dying for Canvas. And I want to bring up a subject that has been an issue with me for my entire life, and a lot of people don't understand how it affects the person, and it mostly affects me during the Christmas holiday. So, what is it? I'm red-green colorblind. My diagnosis is complete red and green color blindness. I have no concept of the color green. I don't see true green, and I have a hard time with reds. So the scientific theory behind red-green color blindness, or just color blindness in general, is we're born with cones and rods in our eye, and through heredity, or in some cases drug usage, or other methods, but mostly heredity. The cones are either burnt out or are not there that receive certain colors. So the two most sets of colors that are affected the most is the most common colorblind is red, green, and blue and yellow. I am red, green. I think my brother is blue and yellow actually. And it's a heretical trait. Nothing we can do about it. And something I've dealt with my entire life. And but it does affect only like a very small percentage of the population. I think it's only 5% of men and 0.01% of women. So a very small percentage. And so I'm just going to explain sort of how it affects my art, how it affects my normal daily life, and maybe answer some questions that people I've had in the past. So I guess the best way to actually is flip that and go questions and then downward. So one of the biggest questions I've had is how do I perceive stop and go lights? When do I know to stop and when I know to go? So I tell them, sort of sarcastically a lot of times, well, red's at top, then it's yellow, and then green. So when it's at top, I stop, and then when it's at bottom, I go. My niece will tell me to go. She's in the car. And then yellow just means speed up, right? So at least that's what it means here, where I live at. But no, in all honesty, I do see red, and I do see what I perceive as green. So it's interesting. Color lights. The green color is actually more of an aqua. It has a blue backing, so I perceive it as more of a blue, like a very, very light sky blue with something else added. And then red, I think I see it as red. And then yellow, I see that as yellow. I see red stoplights. I see yellow yield signs. So I don't really have an issue with driving at all. I do have an issue when I'm doing electrical work, hence why I don't do electrical work. No. So the biggest thing that how it affects me, and I wanted to get to that as sort of the thing. So how red green affects me one primary way, especially around the holidays, is that if red and green are butted together, if they're on top of each other, they will start vibrating, and it causes me to have migraines after a while. Now it's not going to be like instantaneous. I'm not going to see it and go, oh, I'm having a headache. It literally takes me like a couple hours to get to that point where my brain just is like, I've had enough of this color. I can't figure it out, and it starts wiring weird and freaking out. And I actually have had that issue because I had a painting class, and my teacher at that painting class she was obsessed with red and green. So I would actually have to go home for migraines after class several times. And it would just, after a while, it would just vibrate, and my eyes would literally just start shutting down. Like my lids would just start closing up, and I couldn't concentrate on anything. It just, you know, searing pain of the migraine. So that sort of sucks. One way in my household that we get around that red green thing is we don't have a lot of red green stuff in our house. So we go with more traditional blues and silvers, and but we're sort of gothy, so blacks, stuff like that. We tend to be on the darker side of things, so we have a lot of black and stuff like that. Very few red and green traditional stuff. A lot more Nightmare Before Christmas and Star Trek stuff. Because I collect the ships, and my wife collects the Nightmare Before Christmas stuff. So not traditional color stuff, but one of the color combinations that we do use is blue and silver usually, because that's traditional Victorian style color combinations. And it goes back to, I mean, red and green is hard to dye. True red and green. So, and I like that color combination for the holidays. Every other day, so my professional life, I use a lot of green because I deal with a lot of engineering type stuff and environmental stuff, so I use a lot of greens. So one way I get around on the digital level is I just use a lot of hex. I Google like grass green. I use a lot of color palettes, pre-made color palettes, and I get around just fine with that. Sometimes a supervisor or whoever is looking it over might ask, what's wrong with this color, and I might, oh, I'm sorry, it's a little off. And if they may like, why is it off? I'd be like, well, I am red green colorblind. So what color do you want it? And can you give me the sort of like the hex of that color? And I've never had really any comeback from that. And once I tell them, the only time I've actually had any issues with my red green color blindness was in college. And so a couple of the issues I've had is that I've had to prove that I was red green color blind. I've had to bring in a doctor's note. I've had to take a color eye exam in front of them, and they still didn't believe me. They thought I was making it up just to get out of class or make them look bad. I don't understand that. And or they would tell me to drop out or buy the glasses. Now, this is early 2000, so buying the glasses was really unreasonable at the time. I think they were like up to $5,000 and just coming out. So with the helps of my classmates, which I'm internally grateful for, they helped me paint the still life and get the colors right. A lot of times too, I will use my a friend, or in a lot of cases my wife. If I am questioning a color, they will tell me what color it is so I know, or if it's close to this. And this really comes in effect with like oranges. I have a hard time sometimes with orange because it has red. Any color combination that has red or green in it, I have a really hard time. Especially with, like I said, I can see red, so orange, not so much. But like purple, for instance, I don't see purple at all. I know that has red in it, but my brain automatically switches to blue. It goes, this is a very almost indigo blue, but with something else in it. And it can't recognize that other part. But like yellows, for instance, are always sort of this grungy look, almost like a brownish look. A lot of times yellow and brown. So a lot of greens come across very yellow, or with a hint of brown, or and vice versa, depending on the color of green. Or they'll just come across as brown. If they're anywhere close to brown, they're just brown. If they're on the lighter side of green, closer to true green, I'm assuming they just come across as a grungy yellow. I can see I mean, I see grass, I see colors of grass, and I could differentiate healthy grass versus dead grass for the most part, and damaged grass, like when it yellows when you put it like something heavy on it or stuff like that. So I can tell the difference. I just don't know what true grass looks like. It comes across as more of a yellowish brown, I guess is the best way to put it. Now, sometimes I do have a hard time, especially during winter, knowing when the grass is dead. If it's not like withered. So if it's like healthy dead, then I have a hard time differentiating that. And car colors, I have a hard time differentiating like greens and car colors. Anytime that a color is close to another color, my brain will always perceive the color I can see compared to the color I can't. So I think that's the best way to put it. But it usually is like, this is darker than, you know, traditional indigo blue. So like purple is like, it's a very dark blue. Or it's just a different shade of blue. And it might come across as a little bit muddier than blue. So I've never understood, for instance, in my entire life why people like purple, because I just don't see it. I usually stay away from color combinations like that. And if I can't see it, I don't really want to wear it. It's just sort of how. But I do have a lot of clothes that are red. Well, not a lot. I do have some color combinations. I actually have, as you can see, some of these fun studio type clothes that I have that they're helped me get into the mode of creation. That's why there's that like dress, and then there's a shirt behind the camera that are red and yellow, I think, like more of a mustard. I think that's the best way to describe green. It's more like a mustard yellow. But these help me get into the mode. Creative thought. I like to use a lot of out there colors in my work because I do primarily surrealism. So a lot of the colors I see oranges and I see yellows, but I might not see them as true colors. So I do use, people have said I use colors differently, and that's because a lot of times I don't see the true color. I see what my mind says is, you know, what my mind sees or what I see. And so that's why in the Waves of Saturn, I was using that purple because I like how that purple looked, but I know that it's purple. I know the concept using color theory, what purple is supposed to be, but I just liked it because it was, you know, like it was one of the darkest colors I had, at least I perceived as having. So that's why I used it in that sort of like that bottom piece. I think one of the hardest things for me is using green, just in general. And that like stump in the Waves of Saturn was very awkward for me to paint. I don't traditionally like using green at all in my paintings. I only use it if I absolutely have to convey something, because I can't use a color I mix to convey that, because I don't know even where to begin, because a lot of times I can't perceive it. I can't perceive that color. And I think that's the hardest thing, is just I know that it's a color, but I can't put it in words or even put it on paper, because the color that I'm trying to perceive looks like what is on paper. Although it says it's green, I know it is green in my head, but to my eyes it's like, this is this weird color. And you're supposed to use green for natural things, so usually. So I use green very sparingly. Actually, most of the tubes, if you ever go through my art stuff, my tubes I have very little amount of green in my tubes, and usually those come from sets. I don't go out purposely buying green tubes because I don't want to use it because I can't see it. But I don't let my color blindness hinder me in creating art because I view art as an expression of yourself and not an expression of what other people want. Now, commercial art's a little bit different, and I have feet in both worlds. So, but this whole point of this channel was for me to express what I wanted to express on canvas, so I would, just to have fun again with art and not be just commercial all the time. Because it's easy to let one part overcome you than another. And for a long time I let my commercial art be a representation of my artistic ability compared to, my paintings and my drawings. I have noticed a huge difference in how people perceive colorblind individuals from when I was in school till today, to the current years, probably past 10 years. People are becoming more and more aware, or becoming more and more acceptable that you're just a little bit different, and so I have had less issues. I've had less people say I need to drop out. I have had less people, you need to find another career. I've had less people say, well, we can't work with this. I've had a few, but they're very small and in between. Now, I would say red green colorblindness can cause issues, and there are certain jobs that you're not allowed to be red green colorblind in, and some of them are rightfully so. Electricity and exploding bombs and things like that. Probably construction. You really, if you have those, then that's an issue. But overall, as an artist, that really shouldn't stop you from producing the work you want the world to see and you want to see yourself. So don't let red-green colorblindness stop you from producing. And I think I like to see actually more people who are red-green colorblind. I like to actually see an exhibit of red-green colorblind artists. I think that'd be really cool. And have people who can actually see all the colors sort of come in aware that these are people who are red-green colorblind. Or even, blue-yellow, how they perceive color. Or even the monochromatic. Now, if you suffer, I don't want to say suffer, if you have monochromatic color blindness, I don't think that should set you back either, because you can paint in monochromatic, black and white. A lot of it's just how you perceive the world. I actually had a teacher. And the only reason why it even came out that I was red-green colorblind is because he wanted us to do a monochromatic green piece. And I was like, I can't see green. I was like, I can't see any shade of green. I don't understand the color green. And he said, well, do the best you can. And he said, the one thing that he's noticed with people who are colorblind is that they perceive other things like that other people who can see true color don't. Either it be the shape of something, either it be, using color in a different manner than what true color, I guess non-color blindness people can see. People, we perceive things differently, but everybody perceives things differently. But he's like, the way that your eyes work are slightly different than the way other people's eyes work, and you're going to see things differently, and that other people may overlook. And at the end, I did the piece. He actually generally liked it. He was like, it's interesting. That's a, interesting. It's a loaded word some days. But he said that, and he gave me like a B on it because it wasn't truly accurate, but he said I did the best that I could, so I'm appreciative of that. But it made me realize that that maybe I see, that I see things differently, and I'm going to use that to my advantage in my work. Now, one of the worst experiences I've ever had was I had this teacher, like I said previously, that was red green. Everything was red green, and so I made a complaint to her, and I was like, "Look, I can't do this because if you have a disability and red green color blindness is considered a disability." I was like, "I can't see red and green." So I was like, I need to rectify this. So her answer was drop out. So I was like, no, I'm not going to drop out. There's no reason why I should be able to drop out because I can't see the still life. And so I made a complaint to the person above her. And that guy, he was like, well, what's the problem? It's like, well, I can't see red, green, And I was just wondering if I can, make my own still life using almost the same exact properties that one had. Because it really wouldn't be hard to, except for a few things, it wouldn't have been hard to do. And then he pointed at his poster behind him, which was a Green Bay Packers poster. And he goes, what color is that? And I'm like, well, I know that's green, but it comes across as brown. He's like, I don't see a problem here. Because I said, I know what color it is. But I tried to explain, and he's like, well, then you either have two options, dropping out or continuing with the class as is. We're not going to help you in this. And so I bit the bullet, and I had a lot of friends who helped me out in that class to pass that class. I mean, it's a struggle. I'm not angry at either one of them. For that concept, I have a lot more irritation with, nah, never mind. For that one thing, I don't hold a grudge. I mean, that was like 20 years ago. So I don't have it's like I'm doing my own art now. So I hope this helps some people who maybe have color blindness, who are trying to understand color blindness. I think there's several resources out there for people who are trying to understand color blindness. I think there are some websites, How We Perceive Color. And to maybe answer some other parts, am I interested in getting those glasses? My wife asks me this a lot. And I'm like, those colorblind glasses? I'm like, well, if I have the money for them, sure. If we had expendable income, I would like to. I like to see what my colors look like to the average person, not just to me. And then there's also this place in the state I live in that has one of those. Actually, we have like several throughout the state, and they have the scopes you can look at over, like those overlook scopes, like out in the ocean, or to look out in the ocean or whatever. And they have some that are for red green color blindness, and I thought it'd be interesting to go and see what that looks like. I don't know if I would ever get the glasses. I'm almost be afraid to film myself with them because I'll be afraid to be blubbery. Because you see a lot of these and people are just shocked and overwhelmed by how they perceive. I actually watched this really cool video the other day. It was this guy painting miniatures. And he was red and monochromatic. He used glasses to do red and monochromatic. And he was just like, I'm just going to paint. And he's like, this looks beige, this looks whatever. And you actually see the video. Now, I'm not that extreme. I just don't see... The best way to say is I don't see green. Assume I see more yellow and brown. That's what makes up green for me. And reds, I see massive shade color changes, but I don't see the minor ones. And If it's mixed with red, I have a hard time differentiating, or it's not there at all. Like purple, not there at all. So, but he was using red monochromatic glasses, and he actually had it through his camera, and I mean, he had a difficult time understanding the painting he was using, or even what he was doing, but he could see other aspects that he normally didn't see. And he actually sort of came out, I think his miniatures came out really good. I mean, they're definitely not like super well painted, but the color combinations were interesting. And I really like that he was trying to see how other people may perceive color. But I thought the most interesting experience was like how he saw different detail that he normally didn't see in those miniatures. And I think that's a huge takeaway from being colorblind, or people when I try to explain it, or I don't know, because I've pretty much just tried to stop explaining it. But is that everybody perceives things differently, but when you lack something else, usually something, if you're blind, and I'm just using this as an example because I actually have my sister-in-law is actually blind. She's blind, but she can hear better. So she hears things that other people don't. So when you have if you have an insufficiency in one area, it sort of somehow your body course corrects in another. All right, that was pretty rambly, and I hope that answers some of the color blindness. I am sorry I didn't script it, because I really didn't even know where to begin. All right, have a good rest of the day, and I hope you enjoyed this. And these are I don't know. Some of these videos is just for me to give my opinions on things that affect me directly. So, if you have any other subjects you maybe want to pick my brain about, leave it below, and maybe try to, maybe I can do a compilation of videos. But most of my stuff is just about painting. So, the future upload schedule looks like we'll start working on the still life for Valentine's Day, and we're gonna go from there. All right, have a good day, and bye now.